This is an Ellis Mowers and More small engine repair. Stay connected on Instagram and Facebook at Ellis Mowers and More. Comments or questions? Leave them below or email me, ellis@ellismowers.com. Parts used in today's repair are found using the links in the description below. And as always, like and subscribe for more small engine content. On today's small engine repair, we're going to be working on this Southern States lawn tractor. It's a 17.5 horsepower, 42-inch cut. These are made by AYP, Craftsman, Husqvarna, whatever. Same running gear, same everything. Southern States is kind of a regional chain in my area, and or kind of like a farmer-owned type shop. And for a few years, they branded their own mowers, which is kind of cool. Either way, it's basically a Craftsman in disguise. It's been sitting a while. I was told that I guess I had a deck spindle issue or something, which is why it was parked. I do have the deck for it. I got a spindle for it thanks to my one of my partners that I work with, company partners. So that's nice. This needs a decent amount of work to get going again, unfortunately. The transmission, for some reason, won't freewheel. It's a 6-speed. It's got 17.5 horsepower Briggs on it, 42-inch cut. So hopefully it's an easy repair to get it running. I think I'm going to go ahead and try and get it running this evening, and then cross the other bridges with the deck and stuff. These things are not very difficult. They just, you know, are pretty simple to work on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this here in the garage after I give you all a look around, try and get this thing running, and then get some air in these tires and see if we can drive it around at least a little bit, see if it'll run and drive, and then we'll work on the mower deck, get that all situated, and see if we can get cutting with it as well. To give you all a look around, I originally got this in a trade deal, but then I ended up buying that mower back from. So essentially, I think I've got like $200 in this thing. So we'll turn this thing around and sell it for about $5 or $6. Get my money back on it, right? But it's a 2010 model year, 17.5 horse Briggs, the power built. Which these are fine. Seems like the power built ones are pretty good for what they are. Battery's from 2015, so it's really old. It needs to be replaced. Here's the model number. It's a 960, but it's you know, an AYP. I got the seat back for this. This is not going to be the prettiest mower in the world when I finish with it, but it will work. Had to put a key on it. Probably going to have to put a blade engage cable on it because I think that thing's rusted. Put some air in the tires. Find the mower deck. The mower deck's back here somewhere. It's the one that doesn't have a spindle on it. So, or has a broken spindle. That's the one. So it's this one right here. You can see the spindle is just obliterated on it. The blades are pretty bent, so we got a set of blades we got to take care of. But in terms of like the actual body of the mower deck, it's fine. So we'll just take it and roll with it, I suppose. I do need to put a spindle on it. And the rest of it, I mean, looks fine. We'll grind out some of them pulleys there. And we got the return spring on it still, and all the mounts, so that's a good thing. Got to put a discharge chute on it, because that one's, something's happened to one of them. So we got discharge chutes on deck right here. Probably got a couple in the shed back there too, so that ain't gonna be that big of a deal. And we'll get this thing rolling. Get it in the garage. Actually, I'm gonna show y'all there's a ton of varnish in this thing, a ton. So I'm gonna just kind of pour a little gas in it and let it leak, let it kind of fix itself, you know. But I'm going to go ahead and swap the battery out, get some of that varnish out of the tank, and see if we can get this thing running here next. done a little bit of work here. Pulled the fuel tank, pulled the fuel line. We're going to wash that out. Get all that varnish and stuff out of there. Probably going to have to put a carb on it. Not completely sure yet. But what I do want to do, I did put a battery in it. So I do want to see if it will kick over. Yeah, there's a ton of varnish in that carb. So it's probably going to be replaced. But just for kicks, I want to make sure the oil level looks good. It's relatively clean, actually. I just want to see if it turns over, if the starter solenoid is good, and all that stuff. And of course, it's not. So we got to put a solenoid in it. But what I can do currently is see, put a little carb spray in it. Yeah. See if I can get a screwdriver on it here. Nope. That may not be metal. A pair of pliers. It's kind of crazy. It won't even jump the terminals. That's crazy. That's kind of crazy. Never had one that won't even jump the terminals before. Alright, so, well, I got the tank off already, right? So that's good. Change the starter solenoid out. See if we can get this thing to kick over for us. So for those that haven't changed the starter solenoid out before, it's very easy, especially on these after you remove the gas tank. You just take a couple of 7/16 inch nuts to take those off. There's a couple of 7/16 inch mounting points that you have to take off, and two little tabs or two wires that you just have to pull out. Starter solenoid comes right back out. You do the opposite to put it back on, and you should be good to go. So that's what the solenoid looks like. So now, theoretically, I put a little bit of carb spray in it already, as y'all saw. This thing should at least try and kick over now. And it does not. Could have a bad starter. I could have a bad battery. That might actually be my problem. The problem might actually be the starter. How about that? Because you would think that whenever you cross the terminals that it would kick right over, but it's not even. There you go. That sounds bad. Let me check the voltage of this battery. Brand new battery, but you never know sometimes. 12.5, so that ain't it. I think this starter is just really bad. Or either I've got to shorten the wire somewhere. Let me check the resistance between the positive terminal here. Kind of crazy. Let's see how much resistance I've got. Almost about to pull this thing back out and try something else for the moment. Yeah, so there's no resistance. So I've got something going on with. Do I have a good ground? Could it be a ground issue? Bunch of different possibilities here. No grounding issue too. So I guess it's the starter. So the next, because I can feel it coming through the wire here. So I guess I'll just go ahead and take off the cover here and see what's going on, and whoops, see if the starter's just toast, which I'm guessing that it is. Well, this thing's in shambles, but I finally got it, and it is what I thought it was, although it took a lot of troubleshooting and figuring it out. So what it was that I thought it was a ground issue with what it was doing, because I was getting good continuity, but the thing was I was getting good continuity on the ground as well. But it was this bolt up underneath here I had to clean a couple of times actually. It wasn't making good contact under the under this piece. So I picked this, whoop, y'all can't see it, can you? I picked this piece up, wire brushed underneath it so that it had a good contact to the frame, and that seemed to have done the trick, which is good. I just had to test out a battery tester, so I'm going to get it all together. I'm going to go ahead and replace the carburetor on this thing too, because I know with the varnish in that gas tank that this carburetor is not good, and it's one of them Nicky carbs, so forget about cleaning it. So I'm going to get the gas tank back on, change the carburetor out, put the battery back in it, and kind of button up some of the stuff that I did. I'll keep the new starter solenoid in it because it's working fine now. And I'll keep the old one because I think it's working good too. It was that ground issue that was giving me fits. So hopefully next here we'll get this thing started, and then we'll work on the mower deck after that. Alright, got gas in it. New carb is on. I've done this 1,000 times on the channel, so I've kind of pressed for time today. Wanted to just get it done. And put a battery in it. Put all the fuel lines back on it, fuel tank. So let's see if this thing will do anything here. Good. Before I move it anymore, I want to double check the oil, because it looked like it was in pretty good shape. So yeah, it's right on the add mark, so that's enough to drive it around. So let's let me crank it back up. Steering is a little hard because I think the drag length is a little worn on it. I'm going to see if I can get that a little bit better here. Maybe with a little grease. I'm just glad this thing's running though. Man, that was a task and a chore to try and get this thing going. So, a little bit of grease in here. Yeah, there's a bunch of water in the spindle. So that'll do it too. Must not been much in this one. Alright. So that's done. I'm going to get the cover back on it and lube the bottom part of the steering here and save the deck for another day. Let's see, right there. Leave the steering right there. And hopefully between all that it'll make it steer a little bit easier for us. It is not going to be the easiest thing to steer. As long as we can go. Then hopefully we'll be alright. Alright, so we get the cover back on here, just a couple of bolts, and we'll try again tomorrow, or we won't try again, we've got it running. We'll try another day to try and get this thing to do even more than just run and drive. We need to get it cutting again. Right after I stopped filming, this ended up not falling off, but you know, because the bearings were shot on it. So I had to put another one of these drive pulleys on here. Don't have one of those that's a direct fit, but I had the same size pulley, and I was able to get a couple of spacers in there to get it correct. It's a metal pulley now, so upgrade. But overall, let's see if it'll crank for us this morning. The starter was a little bit on the interesting side yesterday, so I had to knock it a couple times. Yeah, what the... Probably going to have to change that starter back to the original one. Started right up though. See. So, because I could probably hit the starter and it crank up. Got something going on in it. Got something going on inside it. But that's not the starter that was on this anyway, so I'll put the other one back on it that was on here, and that should solve that issue. Next order of business, I've done this many a times as well. Got to take the brake caliper off of this thing because it's seized up. No surprise, this thing's pretty crusty, but it didn't look like it's going to take too long to get going. So I'm going to jack this rear up here, take this wheel off, hopefully as long as it'll come off, and get to the brake caliper. I'll show you how to take that off, and we'll tighten everything up on it. Time for the brakes. Just wanted to show you all how to do this real quick in the assembly. So some of these transmissions may vary, but you take this spring right here, put it on this side of the brake arm, and then this other one goes right here behind this bolt right here. Be careful not to over tighten these whenever you take them off, or whenever you put them back on. Take that pin off, take this washer off, take this off, and there we go. So everything is off now, but what happens a lot of times with these is that the brake pads get stuck. There's a ton of dirt in there. Wow. The brake pads will get stuck and won't activate, or the pins are stuck in it. So what you got to do after this is you got to take a 13 millimeter or a half. Man. And so inside here is a pad. You got to take this off. This goes on, this little joining item or thing goes on the back of the carburetor, or on the brake shoe. Sorry, my mind is running 100 miles an hour. The pad goes in here, obviously, and then there's like a little plate thing too that you got to take off, and then you see the pins. So all I'm going to do is take this 13 millimeter off. There's a washer in between this little bracket and the actual brake arm. Throw a little bit of, this in a vise, put a little WD-40 on it, take a punch and just tap them out, slide them back and forth, and take a wire wheel and scrape all the rust off. And so when I get all that taken care of, we'll put this back on. Hopefully we'll have some brakes after that. But as you can see, everything's pretty rusty crusty. After I finish with the brakes, running and driving wise, this thing is going to be ready to go. And then we just have the deck to work on. Time to put it back on. I want to show you how to do this to a degree. So I got the slide pins working again. You can kind of see it right there. So this is directional. The area that has a little dip in it is going to be your top side. So we're going to put this brake caliper on. I've already put there's a spring that goes on the inside, then this arm, a washer, this little 90-degree piece, and then the nut. So now I'm going to put these washers on, or excuse me, these bolts on very carefully. And we'll tighten up those. Not too much there. And then we have washer, and then that. Tighten that up some as well. The spring goes from here on the caliper. Awesome. And then so what happens is you push the brake and it will push back, or it's supposed to. I got it too tight. And what we also might have to do is, let's see, there you go. Depending on how much of the brake caliper is worn off, we might have to put like a couple of washers or something in it so that it doesn't have an issue with, it not working. But trial and error, that's the basic premise as to how you do it. I'm going to put on the wheel again and tire, and we will see if the brakes work. So that fixed the brakes. I'll show that to y'all. So neutral, right? I'll put the park brake, or just press the brake down real quick. and you see it sliding. So in theory, this thing should be driving and stopping again. That hood is a little bit rusty, but so that's good. I wonder if it'll start back now. Excellent. So, running and driving wise, this thing is done, which is good. We got to clean it up, obviously. Change the oil in it and a few other things. So now the next order of business is getting the deck right. The blading gauge cable was a little bit rusted, but I was able to free that up. I've got a mower deck that needs a spindle on it, which is the one that came with this machine, and we're going to put that on. I think we got to grind down some of these grooves and some of the rust in like the double stack pulley area and stuff. So I may pull the double stack pulley off and just take an angle grinder to it just to get all that surface rust off so it doesn't eat the belt up. Let me get the deck in here. I'll show you what we're starting with and what we end up with after we finish. Alright guys, so here's the mower deck that we're going to be using here. It is the one that came with the machine. I did have to replace a deck spindle on the right side. I had to do a product video for that, so I just knocked that out real quick. 4 bolts off, 4 bolts on. Of course, all 4 of the old ones broke off. So the deck spindle itself is on and it's good. Now there's a couple other things that we need to take care of here. The return springs for the blading gauge were one of them, and the deck arm on this side is broken, so I'm going to get a 1/2 inch here. I love the Craftsman tools. That impact, if I give it any more than just, if I give it a quick bump, it just sucks. No way around that. Let's see. So this is going to go in like this. This is not the best stop arm, but it is a stop arm. So, which is better than none. What did I do? Something right here. Oh, I didn't have it in there correctly. Alright, and then we'll put the spring on here that I had. Just like so. Alright, so this is sticking here too. So what I got to do next, and this is pretty typical of all of these. Surprised that the blade return spring is still on in here. Those are always missing. 9/16 right here. Pulls this off. It's a carriage bolt, so pull up while you take it off. Lay this aside. This is a little pivot washer. It's doing fine, so that's good. We'll pull the bolt off here. All I really got to do, well, it looks like somebody's been in this and actually lubed everything up, which is good. The only thing I have to do is put this in a vise and grind down this groove right here and that groove right there so that it engages and disengages smoothly. And then we're going to be at the point where I can put some blades on it, at least put it on the mower, make sure it works, and And if we get to that point, then we're doing pretty good. I do need to grind down the pulleys as well. So I'm going to have to take care of that also. So let me get on to it. I have very limited time today. Would love to hear this thing cut grass before, or at least the blades work before I leave. Well, I've been a bunch of different directions today, but I have made some progress on this machine. The deck, I had to review a paint spray gun, so I just sprayed the deck some black, make it look nice. The discharge chute bracket wasn't in the best shape, but I was able to scrounge together one that will work. I cut this edge off because I don't have a spring, and this pieces will fall off if I did mount it the right way. So I got a couple self-tapping screws. It's in there, but I shortened it a little bit so that it doesn't get caught and drug off as easily. So I cut that off a little bit. What I had to do, I found a couple of these springs. As you can see, I just painted with everything on it. Ground the deck brackets down, so you can see that's working like it's supposed to. These spindle or these pulleys are fine, even though I painted over them. I scraped all the rust and junk off of these pulleys as well as the double stack pulley on there. And as for the mower itself, it is clean. I gave it a nice cleaning and still need to shine it a little bit. Seat wise, that seat, every time I touched it, it started to crack, and so I threw it away. I found this seat, even though it's not in the best shape, I'll throw a little bit of tape right here, a little bit of tape right here, and it'll be just fine for a mower like this. Again, this mower is probably going to be like a $500 mower. It ain't going to be crazy. And what else I have here? Clean the engine. The air filter was actually good. The oil was pretty clean too, so I just topped it off. And the starter's kind of, let's see if it'll start this time. So sometimes it's like it takes a couple times. I threw a little bit of WD-40 in it, but it's gotten more consistent to where it will start up. So that's good. Next order of business, I gotta find a deck arm, which I have one right here that came on the machine I took off. I gotta put another one on here, and I'm gonna mount all this stuff up, get a deck belt. For those who are unfamiliar with how these work, you have two mounts right here that mount the brackets, the lift brackets. This mounts in the back, and then you have the two in the front here. So, and also I got the deck spindle replaced on this side as well. I had to do a product review video for that. So new blades on it also, even just kind of sprayed the underside of the deck just a tiny bit since I had some extra paint. And so we should be good. I'm going to try and slap this mower deck on. I'm kind of running out of time for the day. But hopefully I can get this thing on, get the belt on, get it aligned. And before we finish the day, hopefully we can take this out and at least see if it'll cut grass for us. Very close to having this one done. Deck's on it. All the clips are on it. The only thing I'm concerned about is this blade engage cable because it's a little bit damaged right in the back here, but it is working just fine. And I've lubed it up, so hopefully it's good. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to crank it up and drive it out. And hopefully this thing's done. Save for a little bit of a shine. really nice. I think I'm going to cut the backyard with it tomorrow, just to see how well everything does. Make double sure that I've done everything right down here. So, especially since nothing's really, haven't really been used that much in a long time. So I'm going to get some duct tape on it, give it a good shining, cut the yard, and we'll see how it does. But I think it's ready to rock. Otherwise, I got to level the mowing deck just to make sure everything's good there. And, excuse me, throw a little duct tape on the seat. Tires are staying aired up even after a few days, so I don't think I'm going to have to do anything to that. It's actually looking fairly sharp, especially with the mower deck repaired on it. And should make a pretty nice mower for somebody. Y'all know these Craftsmans are hard to beat when it comes to fixing them. Well, y'all just saw it run. Cut some grass, cut the whole backyard with it. It's doing great. So I need to figure out why the headlights aren't working, but that's should be a pretty easy fix. So we'll see. But like I said, that's always an easy fix. I'll sort it out. So hopefully, I have it plugged in. Yes. And might be an issue with the switch. And that starter hangs up every once in a while. So I may investigate the starter a little bit, see if I can get the headlights working. But this thing turned out really, really nice, especially for what this is going to be a relatively cheap riding mower. Probably about $550 is what I'm going to list it for. If I can get $500, that's going to be great. All the tires hold air. The deck's level. The deck's been basically not rebuilt, but spruced up. Got a new deck spindle, new blades. Got it painted nice and shined up for a 2010 model year. Seems to be pretty good. Brakes work again, and blades work. Looks good. Changed the seat out on it, and so hopefully this thing will bring some decent money here even late in the season. We'll see what ends up happening. Thanks again, y'all, for watching this repair video. Hopefully y'all found it informative and enjoyable. Nice to have the Southern States Rider going back again. I've had it in the driveway for about 3 or 4 months now. Been wanting to get it in the garage and just picking away at it this week. Basically got it ready to go, ready to list. So thank you all again. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video. Thanks as always for the support. I will catch y'all on the next one.